Then we can start recording. Hooray! Witch Hat Atelier! Episode 2. Welcome along to a Witch Hat Atelier reaction. And if you haven't been along to one of these before, just in case someone stops by for episode 2 for some reason, the way that these work is that I don't want to put the actual anime on screen for you to watch because of, copyright things. So what I do instead is I put this on screen for you, which is like a little slice of the lower bit of the screen where the subtitles are, and then there's a timestamp in the top left corner. And you will use that by having a version of the episode on your own screen and sort of keeping in time with me using that. And I will give you countdowns. I will count you in. I will make sure that we stay in sync to the best of my ability, which is not always great ability. And that's how you will watch the same things that I watch, and then I'll react to them. And every once in a while, I'll be like, oh shit, I need to yap interminably about some animation detail over here or whatever, at which point I will say 3, 2, 1, pause. We'll pause at the same time, and then I'll say 3, 2, 1, go, and then we'll go at the same time. And that's the way it works. Is it inconvenient? Yeah, but apparently it's for some reason people still watch it, so I'm gonna keep doing it. But if you want to do it a slightly more convenient way, you can join the Discord where you can watch these recordings happen live, which is, it's more convenient. Or you can become a member of the channel, and then you'll get access to some more convenient versions of these reactions that aren't so much trouble to have to deal with. That's $1 a month if you're interested in that. But if you're not, you don't worry about it. You don't have to. Like, fucking, there's too many things that cost money in the world already. You don't need to give me any of it. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's the explanation. So, let's get started. 3, 2, 1, go. Book. 3D book. I would kill a man to have a house like that. Probably the man who already lives there, but, doesn't have to be him. Could be any man. I had not heard the intro at all. Oh, this kind of goes. Yeah, we're going to take a closer look at this intro. Three, 2, 1, pause. Okay. Let's have a let's have a gander. First of all, small thing of appreciation. Just the color work on this sunrise here. Like the way that the light spills over the land, right? You can see the shadows of the hills. Lots of pink and orange, purple. The way that it fades into the cold blue of the shadows. This is very pretty. I just thought that was really nicely done. And like, I'm still fascinated by the way they do, because like, again, we talked about this parallax scrolling thing, right? Like where you have the layer here, which scrolls relative to the layer right behind it, which scrolls relative to the layer right behind it, and then like that's how you build depth in a scene. It's a lot of layers though, and they're combining that with they're doing the scrolling, and then you can also see that they're doing like a little bit of warping on some of the layers to sort of slightly change their direction and proportionality ever so slightly as the thing comes across, and that just helps emphasize this sense of the landscape changing with the change in perspective. That's really interesting. Again, would love to have like a 4K version of this to really see where the layers are. Has someone decoded this spell yet? I'm sure someone must have. Sitting on gravestones, huh? And the intro being the intro, as far as I could tell on a first watch, they're not really using any 3D elements here, which I'm quite happy about. At least insofar as... Yeah, you can see... This is honestly maybe a little strange, even. As this book is floating downwards, right? All it's really doing is moving from top to bottom, and it's very lightly rotating around its axis. The interesting thing is, normally with that, you would just kind of keyframe it. But looking at the boiling and warping on the line work, it looks like they actually hand-animated the book's slight rotations. Which is an interesting thing to do. Like, that's an interesting amount of more effort than is required, which again, appropriate for Witch Hat, but again with the heavy use of parallax. Very close copying of Shirahama's art style and illustrations. Which, like, I'm curious how many times they're going to attempt that. How many times they're going to actually attempt, like, this heavy hatching copperplate engraving style in the regular animation of the show. Because they've been doing, like, they've been doing a lot of compromises between it, right? They've been making a lot of compromises to approach it in a way that's suitable for an animation format. And then occasionally, like the floating shot with Keyfree and Coco at the end of the last episode, they've been like really leaning hard into directly replicating it. I wonder the extent to which they're gonna try and have that. By the way, oh hey, she's being offered 2 different kinds of witch hat. Gee, I wonder if that means something about where the story is going with Coco. Is like she's 2 different kinds of being a witch, and it's just they get her to make some decisions between them. Interesting, isn't it? That little motherfucker is such a Moomin creature, by the way. Such a like that's Hatifnata. That's what the fuck that is. That's the straight the fuck out of the Moomins. This little motherfucker. There's something so. Because I associate like the Moomin anime, because it was an anime. It was the first anime I ever saw was the Moomin anime that was like translated. Because I associate this so heavily with that, it takes me right back to the fucking 90s. Okay, here there's a 3D shot. And you can so they're probably just reusing that asset from that shot in the last episode, and you can kind of see a little bit of Coco sliding a little bit weirdly in the frame if you frame by frame your way through it, right? Like where this movement feels like it feels a little bit odd because it's not 100% planted in the shot, which I think is partly because the 3D shot is moving on ones. And they're not 100% tracking the characters perfectly to the shot. But in fairness, this is a really, really fucking difficult shot to track characters to. More of those gorgeous visual effects. I do love the little move she makes here, where she like kicks up the spark, which that's very kid playing in a puddle coded, right? Like that little kick. Everyone else is drawing with pens. Oh hey, that's a strange way to draw. The thing that's being held by that particular hand there. And yet, there's also this individuality to it, right? Where those two are using the same kind of pen, but then there's a unique one there. And then there's one of them who's like drawing specifically very small. Yee, little things, little foreshadowings. And they did a comic panel thing as well. By the way, this fucking shot. That's fucking stupid. God damn. Okay. You see how, like, the drawer is slid out, right? And it would be enough just to slide the drawer out. You wouldn't need to do anything, but they do, as it comes out, just two frames of secondary motion, right? Where you see the follow-through from the drawer being opened, where everything sort of, like, where all the jars slosh their liquid around, and you can see these little mushroom things, or whatever the fuck they are, moving. Just two frames. It's not even very much, right? Like, it's 2 frames of that secondary motion happening, and then we cut immediately, but it's enough that when it gets pulled out, you get this real sense of weight to it, right? Like, it feels so much more tactile, even though it's just 2 frames. It's nothing. But those 2 frames of everything moving just a little bit really do so much to add to the sense of that. And then we play with the comic panels. Again, I cannot stress this to you enough. Read Witch Hat Atelier, because the shit that it does with its paneling, the way that it handles its storytelling, the deliberate way it lets the characters break out of panels, the way that it flows panels into one another, as craft, it's just so good. That's an interesting way to frame the look. She looks at Coco and then she sees not the girl in the witch uniform, but this peasant girl from nowhere. Huh. Funny that. I wonder if that means anything. I'm sort of like, I have read ahead, obviously. I know what's going to happen. I'm trying not to just straight up say spoilers for anyone who's like, again, please don't watch my reactions as your first exposure to something. Go watch the actual episode yourself first. But just on the off chance that someone is getting their first experience with Witch Hat through me, I wonder how much yaoi there is yet of these guys. Probably some, right? Must be some. So, some character design notes. Look at the way this witch uniform is put together, right? Like, especially relative to the uniform that Keyfree and most of the witches wear most of the time are very much defined by softness, right? By softness, by like fabric that like hangs, that's very flowy, that's very loose, that's very soft, right? Compare and contrast with how much rigidity and sharpness is in these witch uniforms, right? Like how much this, and like there's an aspect of a military uniform to this almost, right? Like they nearly have the, what are they called, epaulettes nearly on the shoulders, right? Like they nearly have a little bit of like, that's like a military cap sort of thing. There's a militaristic vibe to these uniforms, right? Which tells you something about the attitude that produced these uniforms. Like, what are they for? What are they communicating about who these people are and what they do, right? What their function is in the world. And that should prompt you to ask some questions about, okay, what does it mean when something is presented in this militaristic visual language, right? Because Witch Hat Atelier is a story about ambiguities. It is really, it's not a story that has a million clear answers, because what it's about is creativity, right? Like, creativity is part of it. Creation is part of what the story is about. What it means to create, right? The responsibility that comes with it. And the question of whether the act of creation is and should be available to everyone. That's one of the questions that Witch Hat Atelier is examining. And it's not a simple answer. God, I've said this so many times, but if there's one thing I love in animation, it's mess. I love it when shit is messy. I love it when you look at a scene and just at a glance, you go, oh, I get it. I know what it feels like to be here. And the thing that does that, like, because if you have a scene where there's a room, but it's completely tidy, right? Everything is tidied up. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. Like, all the books on the shelves are, like, lined up perfectly. Everything is completely correct, right? What does it feel like to be in that room? What does it feel like to walk into a room where everything is in exactly the right place? Well, it's an IKEA showroom, right? It feels like a showroom. It feels sterile. It feels like a dead space, right? This is a space where people don't live. They don't hang out. They don't make a mess. They don't customize. This is a space that is arranged to fit a mold, and things shouldn't be moved out of place, right? It is a space that rejects creativity to a certain extent, because creativity is messy. And then you look at this, and there's so many pillows fucking everywhere, and there's books, and there's little bits of paper scattered all over. Each of the characters have, like, their own little style of, like, she has her pillow, she has her pillow. You can see that they have their personal preferences, that they sort of, each person has sort of brought a little bit of themselves into the space. There's a sense of collaboration, of softness, of, like, many different people. Like, the mess tells you what it's like to be here, right? Like, what it feels like to be at this slumber party. Whereas, again, by similar token, right, this is a scene that's going to come up in not too long. But what does this space feel like when everything is, like, sort of white and minimalist, and these, like, rigid shapes? Like, it makes you feel a certain thing. It makes the space feel a certain way. And this is also messy, right? Like, it's not completely rigid in the way that a fucking iPhone would be, but it has a very different vibe. Like, these little bits of environmental design, the way that the deliberate application of mess informs your understanding of what you're looking at, is something I'm endlessly fascinated by. Yeah, because here we're very, very directly copying an illustration. No, that has to be a screen tone, right? Okay, yeah. So what I was looking for, like, for a second, because they fade it, because they fade the opacity on it, I was like, they don't redraw these things frame to frame, do they? No, they don't. This is a screen tone that has like some opacity effects on it that then travel along with the cloak. So they're not fully doing the hatching across the characters, but it's a good screen tone. Like that looks like custom. That looks like they custom made a screen tone to have that scratchy ink pen texture to it that they could then mask across the characters to use for the shading. That's quite good. Whereas the lines that are drawn in the background are like clearly much more authentic hatching. That's a really close copy of that illustration. Two different Cocos reaching across to one another from each their own side of a mirror. And then we cut to this interesting thing of Keyfree passing from one side of a mirror to another as well. And as he passes through the mirror, he changes from his civilian identity to his witch identity. Almost as though there's some questions about identity being explored here, and like what it means to occupy one side of a divide versus another. Almost like maybe Keyfree has multiple sides to him or something. And it's not that they're opposites or that one is fake, right? In the same way, Coco has the cute, adorable little sort of country bumpkin peasant girl, and she has the witch Coco. But they're both Coco, right? Like, it's not an authentic and inauthentic version, just two different sides of a particular divide. Huh. Interesting. I wonder if that has any relevance to Keyfree. Probably not. Probably not. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about Keyfree. Don't worry about him. He's fine. Don't worry about him. He's just a very nice man. And then nothing else. I know exactly which panel this is from. It's from the first volume of the manga. This sequence, I cannot stress it to you enough. Find this sequence in the manga and pay attention to how it leads your eyes across the panels, and you'll understand why I am like this about this fucking... Why I keep insisting that you need to read it. Ooh, hand-drawn shadows. Ooh, really complex hand-drawn shadows. Yeah, because like, oh, that's really well handled. So you have this orb of light passes in front of this tassel, right? So you get this shadow that like moves from the left side to the right side, but then vanish and then instantly take over with the second source of light. And the way that these sources of light like intersect with and break from each other, it's not realistic. Right? Because of course it's not. This is not a realistic way for anything to cast light on anything. It looks like you're shining a flashlight directly on the side of the cabinets there. But it does look really nice. Hiccatus, ficcatus, miccatus mum, prestidigitonium. Diminish dictionary, that's words in your vocabulary. Hockety pockety walkety whack. Oh, man, I'm old. Oh, someone had fun animating this. Coco, when she uses 100% of her intellect. That must have been so much fun to just animate Coco's faces, distorting weird. And again, this continuous motif throughout the whole opening, right, of boundaries, mirrors, portraits, portrayals, portals, doors, right? Like these different realms that you can pass through that each contain the other. That's fun. Yeah, so that shot presumably will be like the tracking shot with the frames is 3D, right? For sure. That would make the most sense to me. Unless oh no, wait, they don't rotate at all. Do they? No, okay, that could actually be a 2D compositing then. Okay. I guess you could composite this in 2D if you wanted to. I don't know why you would want to. There's things about the way that the ground is moving that makes me feel like these are 3D projected textures, but what a gorgeous intro. And then this final shot. I've talked about before how, like, when they need to do these pop-up, like, paper cut books, right? In the main show, usually they will animate those in 3D because that just makes more sense, especially with an object like a book. For the intro here, though, they were like, no, no, no. Here for the intro, no 3D trickery, no fucking around. They hand animated that book by the looks of it. I wouldn't be surprised if they used some 3D rotoscoping for reference or some footage for reference, but they fucking hand animated that book closing, which is that's a fiddly bit of animation because there's so much shit inside the book, right? Like there's all these little things and objects. So you can see here, as they're animating it, at some point they have to make the decision about level of detail, right? Like, which is like, as the book is closing, okay, the stars can probably vanish. That's fine. We'll just shove the page over, so we don't have to animate all the stars the whole time. You can see here there's 3 stars. Now there's 2 stars. Right? You can see these level of detail decisions being made to make it more feasible to animate by hand. Which in 3D software you could just have it render everything and make it realistically smaller. But the decisions work, right? Because you don't notice that. You don't really notice that things don't vanish 100% consistently or move 100% consistently across the page as it closes. You just see the book closing. God, that's pretty. I just want my desk to look like this, just for a day. I just want my desk to have all of whatever these things are. Right? Like pens and quills and fucking jewelry, I guess, some plants that are just hanging out, some seeds for birds, maybe. I just for one day I want my desk to look like that. I wouldn't know what to do with half of this shit. I just want it I just want to have it to be like this, to be there. I just want to have a desk that looks like a fucking witch desk. Just for a day. Just one time. I want to see what it feels like. What a cool intro. I need to find the full version of that track. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. 28 minutes in, we're 2 minutes into the episode. 3, 2, 1, pause. Man, just the level of parallax they put into some of these shots. Such a sense of the depth to it, right? And then I wanted to look at its little things. Like, I talked about this endlessly in my Freerun reactions, but the bag getting set down, and then that. Right? That little collapse of the gravity of it. Just a little squash and stretch. Like, nothing fancy. But, like, you see how that little thing, the bag gets put down, and then it does... It just sort of like... You can see how it's almost like it breathes out, right? And you instantly get such a sense of the weight and the softness of it, right? Like the physical properties of the thing, what this thing is like, right? It's not rigid, hard leather. This is like a soft canvas bag almost, or something like that. Like, yeah, it's little things that just like makes it feel like, oh shit, I know what it would feel like to hold this thing now. And like Freerun has a lot of that as well. Like a lot of these little bits of secondary motion and things like imbued into objects or small physical interactions that sort of give you that tactile sense of what the thing is like. And I'm so very fond of it. And then we have Keyfree's little magic trick here. And you can see it so clearly, right? Like, Keyfree's like, okay, she loves magic. Let me just distract her. Which I think is part of why he doesn't explain to her how to use it, is because this thing will sort of, like, this will keep her from dissolving into a puddle of anxiety for long enough for me to get her some new clothes. It's a little giving an iPad to a baby, right? And man, someone was having a lot of fun animating the water. Because it's not just that the water coalesces, it almost spins into existence, right? You can see this whirlpool swirl with this consistent clockwise motion that it sort of carries through as he moves it around. There's this consistent clockwise rotation in it. That looks really nice. And again, we're in Coco's point of view, right? So whenever she sees magic, you can see how the background fades, right? Like everything that's not Keyfree doing the magic trick, kind of fades out a little bit. The rest of the world kind of vanishes a little bit, and then all she sees is the magic. So you get this like, again, the anime is making a point of introducing you into Coco's perspective on it. She's so adorable. Oh man. 3, 2, 1, go. That's just so good. the way the whole scene goes black. Psychotropic landscape. Oh, Tetya. Okay. They pronounce the T hard. I thought it was more of a soft T. Tesha. Three, two, one, pause. Tetya's so good. She's so sweet. So authentically sweet. Riche is interesting too. First of all, she needs someone better to cut her bangs, but again, I don't want to give shit away, but it's not like Riche and Tetya are like classic double act, right? It's blue Oni, red Oni, right? We have red Oni, which is like Tetya with her red hair and like her bubbly personality and like very emotions on the outside of her sleeves, and she's like like bouncing around. And then Riche is blue Oni, right? Like, which is more calm, more quiet, more calculated, like seemingly less emotional on the outside. But there is a little bit more to it than that. They do something interesting with these archetypes, right? Because it's very archetypal design. It's very classic double act. But they do something a little bit, especially with Riche, they do something a little bit interesting with her. And the reasons she is the way that she is. I do love the psychotropic landscape, right? Because it's like you can still see it's still bright, right? Like the actual lighting conditions in the room haven't changed, but the vibe shifts, right? The moment Coco says that, we go from sunlit, bright, like sweet, warm summer morning, and everything is cold now, right? And that's what it feels like when you're in a social situation and you say something and everyone's vibe all of a sudden shifts and you don't know why. Yeah, that is what it's like. All of a sudden the room is just different, right? Nothing has technically changed, but everything feels different and you don't understand why. And the way they convert, like this illustration again is straight out of the manga. And it's like a very close conversion, too. I do love, like, it's little pens, right, that are drawing some kind of magic sigil behind her. And then we get, like, the scary evil witch hat with the long tail and... And like I said, I was curious the extent to which they were going to try and animate. And you can tell, like, this is such a small shot, but this much have taken so fucking long. Right? And you can tell the inconsistencies, right? You can tell that the stipple marks up the left side of this tentacle, or arm, technically, I guess, aren't 100% consistent frame to frame, right? Like, they sort of, they wobble around a lot. Not that it matters, because it just needs to look convincing from here, but someone had to draw that. Someone had to draw those stipple marks every single fucking time. Someone had to sit down and... every single fucking time to make it real. And I don't know, man, like, I sometimes feel like maybe it gets a little tiresome to hear me get excited about the basic principle of animation over and over again, which is that someone had to draw it. Of course, someone had to draw every single frame. That's what animation is. That's how it works. Why are you so excited by it? Because it's magic! Because it's sorcery. It's you draw a picture on a page kind of the same way, but then slightly different, like 400 times, and then all of a sudden, when someone isn't paying attention, when someone isn't sitting here going, "Ooh, look at the details of how that's done," when someone isn't paying attention, it just moves, right? It just comes to life, and people just go, "Oh yeah, those are characters doing things." That's not drawings that someone made bit by bit, meticulously putting everything together. Those are people doing stuff together. You just buy it. It's just your brain just goes, "Oh no, yeah, that's real. That's stuff that's happening." Like, not realistic, not in the sense of like it's real stuff that's happening, but it's like, yeah, that's a character. No, it's not. It's lines on a piece of paper with some color on it. But your brain just goes, "Yeah, no. Characters are doing things. People are having interactions." I feel the same way about puppets. You know, Muppets. There is that thing that happens whenever a Muppet is not being puppeted by anyone and is sitting on a table, right? And you see documentary footage from the backstage of Jim Henson Creature Workshop or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, those are puppets. They're sitting on the table. Nothing's happening. Those are puppets." And then some motherfucker slides his hand into the butt of a frog, and you go, "Oh, that's Kermit." Like, the moment fucking Kermit starts moving and a good puppeteer is bringing him to life, you're just like, "Oh yeah, that's Kermit. That was a puppet, 2.5 seconds. That was a person. That's just a person. You can talk to him." And every single person who ever goes to the Jim Henson Creature Workshop and interacts with the puppeteers will tell you the same thing, that the moment they start puppeteering their puppets, even when you don't mean to, you just subconsciously kind of go, "Oh, sorry, Kermit." Like, you'll talk to the puppeteer, and then you'll feel bad that you aren't talking to Kermit, even though Kermit isn't real. Kermit isn't there. There is no Kermit. But because the puppeteers can't help themselves, that when they have the puppet on, they can't help but animate him and move him around. People, like, your brain just goes, that's a person now. That's alive. Animation is magic. It's fucking Naruto genjutsu that they cast on you. Whatever, it's mind control. The magic of animation is that you can just make people accept that something is alive. You could just make people accept that something is alive, and they don't have a choice. You watch a Pixar movie, you don't have a choice. You see these characters as alive. You watch a fucking piece of good animation, and you don't have a choice. You can't make yourself not believe it. Because when it moves, and when it moves just well, you are in the spell of the illusion. Right? And you can intellectually understand that, of course, nothing of this is real. Of course, it's just a puppet. Of course. But your social human pack bonding lizard animal brain goes, "Oh yeah, that's Kermit. That frog is a guy who has separate opinions from the person who's puppeteering him." That puppet is a person who has a separate voice and feels things and has their own personality. And it's stupid. Humans are stupid. Our brains are dumb, but it's so cool. Also, Keyfree, why the compression shirt all the time? Like, it's one thing to be wearing a black shirt, but like the compression shirt, you know what you're doing. I'm not complaining, by the way. I'm just saying. Seriously, I would kill someone. Just designate a person, and it's like, if you kill that guy, you get this house. That guy, count his days. I'll find a way. Anyway, 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Three, two, one, pause. So here we get to one of the central thematic questions of Witch Hat, right? As Keyfree lays it out, magic was an ordinary part of life. And take note, by the way, that as he tells this story, we open with the flame, the fire, right? That is what magic is. It's a flame that has been given to humanity, and then the witches take the flame away from humanity. Right? So we're dealing in the realm of the mythological, right? Like this is Prometheus granting fire from the gods to mortals and the trouble that comes from that. But as he lays it out, right? It was a perfectly ordinary thing. Anyone could do it. You have a bit of ink, you have a pen to write with. Anyone can create magic. Anyone can create it. But when mankind holds the power to do anything, anything is what they do, right? So you can imagine the kind of shit that gets done with it. And you don't have to imagine because they show you. Some real horrifying shit, right? And one of the central questions that Witch Hat Atelier is examining is whether or not you can control magic this way. You have this power which was available to everyone, which in theory is still available to everyone. Anyone can still use magic so long as they have the knowledge and the tools, right? As we saw with Coco, sometimes people will figure it out, right? Like, admittedly, because she was rather put into a position for it, but people will figure it out, right? And so there is this question of, whatever the intention, can you control it? Can it be controlled? And if it can be controlled, who gets to do it? Right? It's one thing to say, magic is too dangerous, not everyone can have access to it. The next question is, who gets to decide who gets to have access to it? Right? Who gets to hold that power? And who gets to define which magic is allowed and disallowed? Who gets to make those decisions? Because it's not going to be the majority. This is not a democratic decision that is taken by people as a whole. This is a decision that's taken by a small elite to concentrate that power in their own hands to the exclusion of everyone else. And you can, like, and there's this thing of, like, it's not an unreasonable thing to conclude, right? Like, if you live in a world where there's been nuclear war and you go, maybe we should just take the nukes away from everyone and just, like, get rid of the memory of nuclear physics from everyone, is like, that's not an unreasonable thing to say necessarily. If you've been through nuclear holocaust, like, it's like, yeah, no, that makes sense. There's just that question of, like, if you then keep a nuclear reactor for yourself, though, and you're like, no, we get to have a nuclear reactor, and also a few nukes that we just, like, we keep those nukes in our base. We're not going to use them, obviously, but, like, we have the knowledge of how to make nukes and how to make nuclear reactors, and we get the benefits of nuclear energy, but no one else does because it's too dangerous. Who gets to make that decision, right? who can you trust to decide that, and what are the consequences of setting up a system where someone has the power to just make those decisions for other people without their consent, without their input, without any democratic oversight, without any, like, those are the questions that Witch Hat is examining. And again, it is not a simple question, because as people in chat are talking about, the Witch Hat Atelier fanbase has already demonstrated that people are very, very quick to figure out some truly horrifying things that you can very easily and very casually do with magic, right? Like, it did not take the Witch Hat Atelier fandom 2 months to figure out how to do war crimes. Just the most horrifying war crimes. It's like, it's not as simple as oh, think good, think bad. It's really not an easy answer to come up with, because it's that thing of like, yeah, but also someone immediately, like within 30 seconds of figuring out the magic system, someone found out how to use that to turn a person inside out, right? Just by drawing drawing a little symbol on a piece of paper, you can turn a person inside out. You can, like, unmake a person on a molecular level. You can, like, set their entire skin on fire. So it's that question, like, okay, it's maybe very easy to sort of say, oh, everyone should have access to magic freely and there should be no restrictions, but then, like, there are consequences to that. And where do we land on it? And Witch Hat Atelier is about this, in, like, along with other things. And it's not a simple question. It's a complicated question, right? And bringing it back to the metaphor, right? As I talked about, magic in Witch Hat Atelier is creativity, right? That's what it is. It's creativity. It is art. It is artistic craft. Like, that's the metaphor that it's working within. And again, within that metaphor, people have the capacity to do genuinely horrifying things with art, right? Like, not on the level of dropping a nuke on a country, necessarily, but, like, there's that thing of, if everyone just gets to draw whatever the hell they want whenever they please, some people are going to draw truly horrific things, right? They're going to draw genuinely awful things. And so there's that thing of, like, what do you do about that, right? Like, people can do real, true, genuine harm with their creativity if it's not, like, if it is not under some level of scrutiny. And, like, at that point, is it so easy to say, oh, everyone should just get to draw whatever they want with no restrictions? Well, yeah. It's easy to make sweeping ideological statements about questions like this. It's really easy. The moment you have to deal with the actual nuts and bolts of it, the actual moment-to-moment consequences, that's when things get harder. They actually fucking do it. Like, here you can see why you might not want to try and hand animate in this hatching style. Because, like, again, so many little stipples, so many little lines. You can see how much they boil, because, like, there's no way that they wouldn't unless you were really heavily copy-pasting. But copy-pasting would ruin the point of it. And the other thing about, like, the fact that all of these stippled lines boil so much, it also makes the figures come to life in a different way, doesn't it? Like, there's a different sense of liveliness to them when you have all this boil, all this energy that's always there in the shadows. Like, the shadows on these figures, because they are hatched like that, the shadows are always moving a little bit, and so the figures are always moving. There's a certain smoothness to it that looks kind of amazing, honestly. Again, one hand gets to hold the power. Everyone else gets to just flail powerlessly. Whose hand holds the power? Who gets to do that, right? In whose hand does power belong, and how do you determine that? Idly, that little swinging tassel. I like this moment from Coco as well, right? Because we've seen of her that she has this curiosity about magic, right? This deep, intense curiosity, this deep love for it, of the beauty that it represents and the things that it can do. But also now she has seen what magic can do, right? Like when you don't get it. And her response to what's happened to her mother is, I need to understand what this thing was. I need to understand what it was that did that. I need to know what it is. I can't go on not knowing what it is or how it works or why it worked. And that's another very understandable way to respond to that kind of trauma, right? Because Coco had no idea what she was doing. She had no idea what she was doing. She didn't know. She had no concept of what, like, she didn't even know that the thing that happened to her mom was a thing that could possibly happen because she was kept ignorant of it, right? And so, no, what she wants in response to this trauma is to understand, right? Not because she wants to use forbidden magic or whatever, because she wants to hurt anyone, but because she wants to know, what did I do? How did this happen? Because to live in ignorance of why something so horrible happened to you is painful. Like, people go insane when they don't understand why a tragedy happened to them, right? Like, we seek that in understanding instinctively. And I think it's like a really interesting point of characterization for Coco that she seizes on that, right? That's sort of how she tries to take back some agency or control over what's happened to her, is I have to understand it. Even if I can't fix it, but the idea is, if I can understand it, maybe I can do something about it, right? Like, then maybe we can figure it out. Maybe something can be done to fix it. Which, in reality, maybe that won't be possible, right? Like, there's no way to know that, but the desire to learn as a means to try and take back some agency over a horrible tragedy that has befallen you is like, that's very human. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Or healing them. Someone saying pointed hats are transphobic. I think the pointed hats would be like, you can make all the HRT you want with magic, but you can't cast a spell to make someone produce estrogen. 3, 2, 1, pause. It's a very sweet scene. It's also an interesting thing for Keyfree to do, right? He's offering Coco hope, right? There is a library. It will have a copy of the picture book. We'll be able to go and find it. We'll be able to like do something about it to save your mom. So he's giving her this thing of like, there's a path forward, right? Like there's a way for us to get to a solution to the problem, right? He's presenting her that, and then also not right now though, like because lots of like big scary sea serpents. It's like we're not going to be able to go there right now. And then he's offering her, hey, I know because of what's happened to you, you're fixated on this. It's reasonable, right? Like it's understandable. Also, let's not get fixated on all the dark magic here. Let's like it's this thing of like remember that you love magic is what he's essentially encouraging her to, right? Coco has had this experience. She now has this hesitation. Even like he handed her a water bucket, essentially, right? Like the most harmless form of magic that's probably in his house, which is a little thing that makes water show up, right? Like which is completely harmless and then not dangerous at all. And Coco, instead of being excited and immediately messing with it, which is what she would normally do when she was still had her innocence, right? She goes, "This thing is scary now. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to do anything to it because I don't know what it is or how it works," right? And Keyfree is sort of seems to be trying to address it a little bit, right? Like it's like, hey, yeah, scary magic is there. This is what it is. And once we're ready, we can go find out about it over here. But in the meantime, hey, there's nice spells. There's lots of spells that have no danger to them whatsoever that just make people happy. Let's try and hold on to that as well, right? Like let's try and hold on to the fact that there is beauty to it, right? That there is something completely harmless to it, and that this magic that you loved when you were a child, right? Like where things sparkle and become pretty and it makes life easier and it helps people, that's also magic, which I like. I like that as a scene. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Don't worry about it. Oh my god, they're roommates. 3, 2, 1, pause. So obviously Agot is an asshole, right? Like that's like instantly we kind of like with the haughty attitude and the British fucking accent. Sorry about your mother. And the British fucking accent. Agot is an asshole. But again, much like with Rishi and Tetia, there's something going on in there. There's a reason why Agot has this instant hostile reaction to Coco, right? And it's not really like there is an internal thing there which comes from a place of vulnerability that makes her this way. Which, like, doesn't justify the cruelty of the behavior, but it's good characterization. She's an interesting character. I will say there is... Man, okay. Hold on a sec. I'm gonna take a slight copyright risk here. Let's see, where is it? I have it here somewhere. There it is, okay. This is one of my favorite illustrations in the first volume of the manga. This one. And you can see they're doing it here. They're copying it pretty closely, but they're hiding it under motion blur. My old enemy. Back to haunt me once again. I will never be free. This is how Shirahama illustrates it. And not to go insane about Shirahama's illustration style for half an hour, but look at the way Shirahama handles gesture. And when I say gesture, I don't mean like, what is the hand doing? Gesture in figure drawing is the whole pose, the flow, the energy of the body, how the body moves in the image, and how, like, you can see the weight distribution and the flow of energy in a person's posture. Shirahama is supernaturally sometimes good at handling gesture and posture in a body, especially when it comes to gesture and posture when it interacts with fabric. And so much of it comes down to the way she handles line weight, right? Because if you look at like something that's very fine detail, like Agot's hands, right? This is, you look at this and it's like it's big, thick, like sort of kind of chunky, clunky lines almost. But the line weight and the way that the distribution of detail is handled, the way you can see these thick lines here imply the clutch of Agot's hand around the bag that she's carrying, right? They imply that concentration of mass where the fingers are clumping together. Once you go here, right, once you zoom out, oh, the gesture of the hand reads perfectly. And it doesn't matter if every single line is beautiful. It doesn't matter if every single line is like a gorgeous, perfectly formed, like amazing. What matters is that in collection with one another, all of them in connection with line weight and distribution, flow, energy, and posture, they all come together to form something that is so readable, that has such a strength of posture and position that you know what it is, right? You can see the same thing when you zoom in on how does she render this paper bag? Well, like scratchy, little like, and like lots of chaotic, like to some extent unmotivated lines, but because she keeps the gesture of this folded over paper clear, right? You can see the gesture of it. It reads, and you understand it. The line weight on this fucking hand also, right? These thick outlines, like here where the two fingers are together, very thick outline, and then like a thick line in between to separate the boundary between them that then thins out to a thinner and thinner line as we get towards like the connection point between the two fingers. And this is what gives it that power. Like, this is what makes it so clean, even though it's so dirty, right? This is so scratchy. These aren't clean, perfect, beautiful lines. This is ink. She sits there with an actual pen with ink in it, and ink does whatever the fuck it wants. Ink is a chaotic little bastard of a liquid substance that has a tendency to go not entirely in the place where you want it to go, not entirely in the place where you want to put it. And she's so good at handling ink, the behaviors of the damn thing, and the textures of it, and the way that this fucking substance, when it interacts with paper, right? Like, just the fact that you can separate the two shoes from one another, right, is entirely down to this thick outline on the edge that intersects with the other shoe. And then we just rely on a bunch of hatching and leaving a bunch of white space, and there you go. You have like separation of these two elements in the frame. It's so good. Oh, what the fuck? There we go. This image viewer is a little bit... Let's see. Where's Agat's hand? Right? This is Agat showing off her hand. Again, when you look at the specifics, it's kind of lumpy and bumpy and uneven, right? It's kind of a lot of mess. But from here, the gesture, the flow is perfect. Here's another favorite illustration of mine, which they kind of skipped over in the anime. Like Agat saying your test starts tomorrow. They don't really give space and time to that. They instantly interrupt it with the other two, which is fine from the perspective of the flow of the anime. But I just love the fucking, again, gesture, posture. What can you tell about Agat's personality here? From the way that she stands, right? From the way that she's pushing her energy towards Coco, right? This, like, leg forward, arms out to the side, very sort of, like, she's a child. This is a child. Like, this is a child's physical attitude, right? This is a child saying, no, I want ice cream. This is a child saying, right? Like, it has that energy. It has that childish, demanding energy of like a precocious 12-year-old who's like very specific in her thinking about how things should be, and who's very willing to push that on other people, but it's immature, right? This is a fucking 12-year-old, right? Like, it's assertive, it's domineering, it's like very sort of like, it's very pushy, but it's also like, oh, you're 12. You're a baby. Right? You're a little girl, right? And Coco is also a little girl, so she takes it seriously as she would an adult. And you can see that in her posture. But this little bit of physical acting for Agat, it endeared me so much to her, because I kind of like, oh, I get it. Right, okay, I see what's going on here, right? This is a very angry, determined 12-year-old who's clearly got some shit going on in her head, right? That she's acting out, right? It's a 12-year-old acting out, right? Like, that's what's happening here. And keep that in mind, because the way that she's acting out, like, she's an asshole in this scene, and they present her very differently in the anime, right? In the anime, they take her a lot more seriously, the way they frame her. You never really get that moment of her being very obviously revealed as a 12-year-old. Like, arguably, this frame sort of gives the game away a little bit, that she's just a child, but you don't get that same moment of revelation that you do in the manga. And, like, that's adaptation, right? Like, you can't necessarily cut it up the same way, because in the manga, I think that's a chapter break, actually. That I think maybe that your test begins tomorrow is like a break between chapters. But it's like, it's meant to be like a capstone, something you end on, so you put a lot of visual information into it, because this is like, it's like a sort of big moment. it's not here. Here, it's not the end of a chapter. It's just like a small transition towards the next scene, right? Because we're doing multiple chapters per episode. But do keep in mind, right, like that Agot is a precocious, slightly stupid little 12-year-old who very, very badly wants to be a grown-up and has reasons for that. And that's why she reacts poorly to Coco just sort of being airdropped into all of this without having, as it were, earned it. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. I want bread. I need to bake something. I need to bake bread. Bread is really easy, by the way. It's really easy. You can bake bread. It is water and flour and some yeast. You can do it. Baking bread is good. It's good for the soul. That's a good scene. I like that. Spell components. Yeah. I love this scene also. Long ago, the four nations lived in... Wait, no. He's such a cheerleader. It's so sweet. Three, two, one, pause. uh, hey, anyone in chat have daddy issues? I'm just saying, there's a reason Keyfree's popular. So there's a couple of things I quite like about this. Again, the manga draws a little bit more attention to it. But there's this distinction being drawn between practical and theoretical experience, right? Where Coco struggles a lot with reading all of that stuff in books, and what Keyfree emphasizes is, okay, you can't remember everything you read in the book, but you were able to internalize it and explain it to someone else, and that means you have learned it. Like, you have learned something. And the manga also makes more of a point out of one of the best ways to learn something is to try and read up on it, learn it, understand it, and then try and pass on what you have learned to someone else, right? A part of learning is teaching. These things are not separate. If you can teach what you know to someone else, that means you have learned it, right? Which is something that, I mean, this is one of the things about when the age of the internet, right? We do get disconnected from one another. And certainly as an artist who's, like, I used to be a commission artist, right? Like, I worked a lot alone on the internet. And we do miss out on the community aspect of learning things together in groups collectively, right? Each person figures something out, passes it on to the other person. That's one of the things of, if you want to get better at art, at drawing, it really is one of the best things in the world is to take a life drawing class, take an art class, like anything, any group activity where the teacher is good at encouraging people to teach each other. Right? It not just, here, you sit there, you listen, you pay attention to what teacher says, and then you do what teacher says, but that there is that community aspect of it. And you can do this on a Discord server. You can do this literally anywhere. But you will learn so much faster, and you'll get better so much faster if you are learning and teaching at the same time. If you are learning with other people who are kind of at your level, and you each teach each other the things you figure out. And like, oh, I figured out how to do this. This is how I do it. And like that, you have no idea how much faster you will grow and how much more joyful it will feel. Because what Coco has here, right, is like, anyone who's ever been an artist knows this, right? I'm going to draw something. It's going to be really great. Actually, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. It's terrible. I hate it. Don't look at it, please. Every artist in the world knows that. Right? Every one of us, every single goddamn one of us knows exactly what that feels like. The lines are wobbly and it's all a big mess. And here again, I would like to encourage you to remember what I just showed you about Shirahama's art, right? We zoomed in on it. We looked real close and we saw that a lot of the lines were really wobbly and a lot of it was really messy. That was Shirahama, one of, like, an astonishingly good illustrator and artist. You zoom in close on that shit, the lines are wobbly, and it's a great big mess. And being a good artist doesn't mean making it not wobbly or making it not messy. It means figuring out, okay, what can I do with all of this wobble and this great big mess, right? Like, what can we use that to do? Well, we can use it to imply gesture. We can use it to impart energy. We can use it to, like, create detail or focus, or, like, it doesn't have to be pretty down to every last aspect of it. It doesn't all have to be smooth to be good. Oh, it's really well handled too. Plonk. just good. Like it's just like this completely neutral. She's sitting there with her hair, like messy hair that she's got, and then blah, flump. That's good comedy. That's just funny. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, they did do it. There we are. They just moved it. And they made her taller, too. Let's see that ending. Ooh. Oh, the way they're doing the glass is interesting. Okay, that's an interesting ending. First of all, just fucking gorgeous line work. Yep. Lines are boiling. It's hand animated the whole way, because of course it is. By which I mean it's frame by frame animated and not just copy pasted. Interesting. So, a couple of symbols are happening here, right? Coco is walking down. Coco is walking down these stairs. She has barely any light, so she has to walk very carefully, right? And she's carrying all of this, right? Everything that's in that jar, she's carrying so carefully and awkwardly and slowly, and then. And what's all the stuff that's in the jar? Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all. Don't worry about all the stuff in the jar. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. It's completely don't worry about all the stuff that's in the jar. But all the stuff that's in the jar, like, it's not that she drops the jar and then it shatters. The jar breaks before she lets go of it. It's so understated, this ending. It's so simple, right? And then we have this fade, right? When she's basically collapsing. And it is the act of drawing, right? That lights up her world. And she's able to step over it, right? And see a way forward. That's an interesting bit of visual metaphor. Magic as the thing that allows Coco to have a way to deal with her damage. Again, magic is art. Magic is creativity, right? Coco has all of this pain, this damage, this, trauma. And magic is the thing. Art, creativity, is the thing that lets her step past it, right? And see a way past it. Which, like, yeah. Art is like that. Creativity is like that. What a beautiful little ending. And I really do like, it's not that she drops the jar, right? It's not, she doesn't do anything wrong. It's not that she drops the jar, it's that all of the stuff that's inside of it eventually becomes too much. And then, right? She didn't do anything wrong. It was the jar that became too much. Again, the gesture work on this animation. The way you can see her slowly, like, collapsing there. Just... what a gorgeous little ending. That's so understated. Also, like, the musical performance in it is like a very raw. You're sort of used to, with anime, the music has a tendency to often, sort of stereotypically at least, be very polished, right? Like, be very, very highly produced. Like, very, like, fucking, like, gorgeous and like, some autotune and, like, gorgeous production and everything. The musical performance in this ending is very raw, by contrast. And not always beautiful in the sort of traditional sense of it, right? Like, not always, like, perfectly held crystal clear high notes and all of that. It's a very raw performance. I think it matches this ending really, really well. I wish I had any idea what the lyrics were, but I guess that's something that can be figured out. I gotta say, like, the way they render the fucking glass jar is interesting. They have an interesting way of doing that. Because we have all of these, like, these are like screen tone textures, like all of this sandy noise stuff, that's a screen tone texture. But they do an interesting thing with this very sharp dividing line that they render into the glass, completely vertical, right? traditionally you wouldn't, like, if you look at the shape of the jar, right, it wouldn't have a vertical line dividing it between light and shadow that way. Like, it would bend and flow with the shape of it. So that's a very deliberate, like, very sharp choice, which gives the jar, like, a very specific feeling that, like, carries through into when they show the cracks, right? The way they render them is by creating these, like, elements of, like, lighter noise and pure white. Yeah, that's really cool. Anyway, that's a good episode. They didn't keep up the level of Sakuga from episode 1, because obviously they did not. That would not have been sustainable, but it didn't have that sort of, like, there are anime where you see, like, one of the episodes is, like, that's where they put a lot of the budget, and they, like, really focus their production time on this one, and then there's another episode where it's like, the characters are this is mostly a talking and characters hanging out episode. We don't need that many in-between frames between everything here. I don't think there was a hugely noticeable dip in quality in that way, right? Which is one of the things, like, with anime production, one of the ways you can tell a production is well managed is when you can see that, like, yeah, not every episode gets the same level of Sakuga because they don't need it, but clearly the episodes where you don't need to have Sakuga, they're still making some good decisions about, okay, where do we put a little bit of extra effort in? Where do we do a little bit more? Like the fucking bag in that bit of the opening shot that I fixated on, right? Little things where it's like we're putting a little bit of extra effort in there just because that prevents things from feeling too stiff and plastic, and, like, that helps maintain the verisimilitudeness of the world, or the verisimilitude, I think is the proper way to say that. Right? Like, these little cutscene bits, they put a lot of extra sauce into. This is fully straight out of the manga, by the way. Keyfree's just like that. He just poses like that. He just does, like, randomly at times in places when he's talking to people, he'll just, like, strike a pose. He'll just vogue like that in his tight little shirt. He'll just do it. Let me see. Actually, let me see if I can find that panel in Volume 1. Let's see. Where are you, Kiki? There it is. He's just like that. That's just what Keyfree's like. Bonus wet Keyfree. Okay, don't get distracted looking at the manga. There we go. Whew. Man, what a good show. I want to watch more of that. So I will.